Wait a minute. What is this all about? My husband had been on a 3-night, 4-day company trip. We had been married for 5 years. Although he had a side of him that frequently visited nightclubs and engaged in dalliances with women, I thought he knew the boundaries that should not be crossed. So, I wasn't worried when he went away overnight. But I was truly shocked when I was organizing his luggage upon his return. Inside my husband's bag was a completed divorce form. All sections were filled out, and all that was left was for me to sign. I didn't know what he was thinking, but then I noticed another file next to it. Could this be a marriage registration form? Seeing what I shouldn't have, my heart suddenly started beating faster. I checked if my husband was still asleep, and slowly looked at the marriage registration form as well. It had the name of a woman I didn't know written on it. And I quickly took a picture with my smartphone as evidence. I decided to look up this woman's name on social media. Then, I found a woman with the same name who was friends with my husband. From her posts, I learned that she had been to Miami during these 4 days. The same period my husband was supposedly on a company trip. And like dropping hints, she had posted photos with a man, his face hidden, arms linked. Looking at the shoes and shirts, I immediately knew the man was my husband. To think he was cheating. Absolutely despicable. I was furious that my husband had crossed the line and betrayed me. What was all the support I had provided for him until now for? This behavior, which seemed to mock others, made my blood boil. However, the fact that he had prepared all this meant he was planning to divorce me soon. I decided then and there to submit the divorce papers right away. I signed on the spot and took them to the city hall. Even when I got home, my husband was still deep in sleep. I packed my things and headed to a hotel before he woke up. My name is Alyssa, and I am 34 years old this year. I married my current husband 5 years ago. And now work as a self-employed designer while being a housewife. As we don't have children, we can afford a comfortable lifestyle just for the two of us. I'm home. Welcome back. Shall we order takeout today? Actually, I just got back from the city hall. You didn't prepare dinner? If you don't mind waiting a bit, I can start cooking now. Are you hungry? I was thinking of ordering pizza, what do you think? Well, that's fine. Just make sure you pay. Yes, of course. When we decided to get married, we both didn't want children. So we thought about both of us working. However, my husband, caring about what others thought, asked me to quit my job. So I became a self-employed designer and worked from home. Since we don't have children, I wanted to work as much as possible to save money. I wanted savings not only for our old age, but in case something happened. My husband is an ordinary salaried worker, so we aren't very wealthy. The first year was tough as I struggled to get work, but gradually I built trust. And now I earn enough from my salary alone to support us. I'm going to take a bath then. Oh, I just realized we're out of beer. Can you go to the store and buy some while I'm in the bath? Beer? Get the chilled ones, please. Okay. Got it. Before we married, my husband treated me like a gentleman and cherished me. But now, 5 years into our marriage, that semblance is almost gone. There have been times I wished he would cherish me more. But it wasn't something to fuss over too much. That's why we were able to maintain a certain distance and live as a couple. The cracks in our marriage began to show when my husband's frequent visits to nightclubs came to light. He said he was going to the bar with his subordinates, but at 11 p.m., he brought them home with him. I was feeling unwell that day and had been in bed since the morning. I had told my husband about it, but he went out drinking anyway, which disappointed me a bit. Given the situation, I think I was emitting a hostile vibe. Hey. Bring us some drinks. We're not done drinking yet. Wait. What are you doing? What time do you think it is? That's why. Everyone is here, so get the drinks ready. It's a wife's duty to entertain guests, especially when subordinates come over. Don't embarrass me. Sigh. We only have 4 beers left. My drunk husband was trying to start a drinking session at home with the subordinates he brought. However, it was already late, and the subordinates seemed eager to leave. I was feeling sick and wanted to get back to bed, but my drunk husband was unstoppable. It's getting late, and you have an early day tomorrow. Shouldn't we call it a night? Besides, you've been paying for nightclub visits every week. It's too much to ask for more. It's late already. I didn't react at the moment, but I was shocked by the mention of the nightclub. My husband had said that going to nightclubs was cheating. And he would leave me if I went to a nightclub. That's why I was a bit irritated that he was going to nightclubs himself. But right now, dealing with this situation was the priority. Thinking this, I sent the subordinates home and carried my drunk husband to bed. He fell asleep immediately, and I went to sleep as well. And the next morning. Can we talk? Huh? I drank too much last night and have a headache. Can you not talk to me much? Could you go buy some drinks for me? Are you going to nightclubs? You said going to nightclubs was cheating, remember? Huh? That's not true. Are you doubting me? I know what I'm talking about. Last night, I checked the credit card statement from last month. You did use the card at a nightclub, didn't you? Don't go snooping around someone's credit card statements. It's wrong to pry into someone's privacy like that. My husband shouted at me, then left without touching the breakfast he was making. He probably never thought I would find out. But I had solid evidence. Some might think I'm making too much of a fuss over a nightclub visit. But he himself had told me not to go to nightclubs. Yet, he thinks it's okay for him to do it. That I cannot forgive. I was furious until he returned home that day. However, he did not come home that night. He always lets me know if he's going to be late, but there was no contact from him that day. He probably knew I was angry and intentionally went somewhere without telling me. That behavior made me even angrier, but telling myself that getting angrier wouldn't help. I decided to go to bed early. The next day. When I woke up in the morning, my husband, who must have returned during the night, was sleeping on the sofa. Excuse me? We haven't properly discussed the nightclub issue. And you didn't come home yesterday either. Where were you, and what were you doing? You could have at least contacted me. My phone battery died yesterday. That's why I couldn't contact you. Suddenly, my boss called to go drinking, and I couldn't refuse. It's work-related, you know? Well, if that's true, I can let go of what happened yesterday. But what about the nightclub visits? How are you going to explain that? That is. As soon as I said that, my husband started to falter. He probably really did go and had not thought of any excuse. He thought that with time, I would forget. Maybe that was his thinking. However, I hate dishonesty. If you tell others not to do something, you shouldn't do it yourself. It's completely unacceptable for one to be allowed while others are not. You always tell me not to go to nightclubs. Saying even showing interest once is cheating, yet you do whatever you want? Don't you find that hypocritical? That was. I had to because of work obligations. I didn't tell you because I thought it would upset you. It's somewhat unavoidable. As the wife of a corporate employee, you should have a more accepting and generous heart. Otherwise, do you want my standing at the company to suffer because you're too controlling? Look, you've always told me to absolutely decline invites from friends. saying I should prioritize your feelings above all else. I understand that maintaining work relationships is important, but if that's the case, shouldn't you also forbid me from going? Don't you see how contradictory you are? What? Are you saying you want to go to nightclubs even though you have a husband? You're just trying to justify it. I'm not saying I want to go to nightclubs. I have no interest in flashy entertainment and have never wanted to go. I'm not saying I want to go to nightclubs. Don't change the subject. But you're talking about if you went. It's unclear if he's deliberately shifting the conversation or just getting emotional. I'm not condemning him for going to nightclubs. I'm merely asking him to take responsibility for his actions and be consistent. Unable to comprehend what I'm saying, my husband starts to snap at me. It's impossible for you to be interested in other men. Even if nothing happens, just feeling attracted to someone else counts as cheating. See? You impose strict rules on me, but anything goes for you? It's wrong that everything is permissible if it's work-related. If a client invited me to a nightclub, would you be okay with that? That's different. Of course, you can't go. Stop talking nonsense. Our situations are not the same. I'm not saying I want to go to a nightclub. But I can't accept this double standard. Why are you the exception? How many times do I have to repeat myself? Enough. If you mention wanting to go to a nightclub again, I'll really lose it. With that, he glared at me and returned to his room. Despite my repeated explanations, my husband refuses to understand. Frustrated by his tendency to ignore the essence of the problem and just say what he wants, I sighed deeply. I locked the room so he couldn't contact me, and quickly it was evening. He didn't come out until after 6 p.m. when he dressed up and went out. We were in the midst of a fight, so he didn't tell me where he was going. However, judging by the time and his attire, I couldn't believe he had a wholesome purpose for going out. Given the nightclub incident, I doubted his actions. Perhaps it wasn't just nightclubs. I had no evidence, but a woman's intuition kicked in. However, no evidence came forward, and no major incidents occurred for 6 months. Then, one day. Hello? Are you with your husband right now? Huh? I'm alone at the moment. I haven't seen your husband since your wedding, so I'm not sure. But I just saw him walking with another woman. What? With another woman? What do you mean? I don't know the details. I thought he might be cheating. I don't know your husband well, so I just wanted to let you know. It could be his sister or something. I was utterly shocked by the unexpected call from my friend. My husband is an only child and doesn't have close female friends. But I couldn't believe he was cheating. There hadn't been any suspicious activity regarding women in the past 6 months. Sure, he had secretly gone to nightclubs, but I thought he had learned his lesson after I found out. That's what I had believed. Today, he said he was going out to drink with a friend I hadn't seen in a while. There's no way he could be cheating. Yet at the same time, I couldn't believe my friend would lie. My husband has a distinctive face, so it's unlikely she mistook someone else for him. Most likely, he was really with another woman. Did you take a photo? Like one where you can see their faces? It was too crowded. It wasn't a situation where I could take a photo. But if your husband isn't home, isn't that suspicious? I don't clearly remember what your husband looks like, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't a mistake. Got it. Thanks for calling. I'll check into it a bit on my end. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. My husband's a lawyer, so let me know if you need any advice. My husband might be cheating. I didn't want to believe it, but the situation seemed suspicious. I decided to call my husband right away. Hello, sorry for calling suddenly. Is now a good time? I'm really out with a friend, like I said, didn't I? What do you need? Just wondering, who is this friend? Is it someone I know? It's a classmate from high school. Did you really call just to check that? Stop it. Don't call me about such strange things. My husband sounded a bit angry and hung up the phone. However, my mistrust only grew. After all, he was supposed to have attended an all-boys school. If it was a high school classmate, it should have been a man. However, the friend had seen my husband walking with a woman. Since the nightclub incident, I had found it hard to trust my husband unconditionally. And now I feared he might be cheating. And that evening, my drunk husband came home. Welcome back. Did you have fun? Sort of. But I'm tired today, so I'm going to sleep right away. All right. Just change your clothes first, okay? I said this as I took his coat. Then I noticed a woman's perfume scent coming from my husband's coat. Of course, it's not unusual for men to wear women's perfume, but it wasn't out of the ordinary. There was a chance he really had met a high school friend, but in my mind, what my friend said seemed more likely to be true. However, just the smell of a woman's perfume wasn't enough to confirm he was cheating. Without solid proof, I couldn't say anything. I didn't know my husband's smartphone password, so I couldn't check what was inside. Without giving anything away, a month passed. I've got a company trip coming up. I'll be gone for 3 nights and 4 days, so take care of the house for me. Understood. Don't worry about anything at home. His company is relatively white-collar, so they have these company trips quite often. It wasn't the first time he was going on a company trip, and I wasn't really suspicious. After 5 years of marriage, you get used to each other's presence. Of course, I cherished him as my life partner, but I was also happy to have some time alone. I spent a quiet night watching dramas I had recorded and reading novels I had bought. Then my husband returned from his company trip. He seemed tired and went straight to bed, and I started organizing his luggage. Wait a minute. What is this all about? I was really shocked as I organized the luggage. Inside my husband's bag was a completed divorce form. All the sections were filled out, and all that was left was for me to sign. He had never mentioned wanting a divorce, and there were no signs of it. We weren't a perfect couple, but it wasn't a situation where divorce seemed necessary. I didn't understand what he was thinking, but then I noticed another file next to it. Could this be a marriage registration form? Seeing what I shouldn't have, my heart suddenly started beating faster. I checked if my husband was still asleep, then slowly looked at the marriage registration form as well. It had the name of a woman I didn't know written on it. And I quickly took a picture with my smartphone as evidence. The date field was left blank, but everything else was filled in. I decided to look up this woman's name on social media. Then, I found a woman with the same name who was friends with my husband. From her posts, I learned that she had been to Miami over these 4 days. The same period my husband was supposedly on a company trip. And like dropping hints, she had posted photos with a man, his face hidden, arms linked. Looking at the shoes and shirts, I immediately knew the man was my husband. To think he was cheating. Absolutely despicable. I was so angry that my husband had crossed a line and betrayed me. What was all the support I had given him for? His actions felt like a mockery, and it made my blood boil. But the fact that he was so prepared indicated that he was planning to divorce me soon. So, I decided to submit the divorce papers right away. With that thought, I signed them on the spot and took them to the city hall. Even when I got home, my husband was still deep in sleep. I packed my bags and headed to a hotel before he woke up. Later that night, he called, but but I ignored everything. There was nothing I wanted to discuss with him, so I turned off my phone for the day. I didn't want to hear my husband's voice after his betrayal. I was emotionally exhausted and took a quick shower before going straight to bed. And the next day, when I turned on my phone in the morning, I saw over 50 missed calls from my husband and more than 30 messages online, which was quite frightening. Hello. Just like I said on Messenger. Isn't it a bit scary? I don't know if he's obsessed with you, but it sounds like he might take revenge. He seems angry that you filed for divorce. But it's not surprising for someone who cheated to react that way. What should I do? He had prepared the divorce papers and a marriage registration form with his mistress. So he must have wanted to get rid of me quickly. I was surprised that he kept calling me persistently. And during my phone call with my friend, the calls from my now ex-husband continued, sending chills down my spine. I had a gut feeling that staying there might lead to an attack from my ex-husband. I'm currently at a hotel near my house, but should I leave? I don't think he knows I'm here, but considering what might happen, I'm not sure, but if he's that persistent, he might have put a GPS tracker on your phone. What he's doing isn't normal. What should I do now? Come stay at my place. My husband is a lawyer and can protect you if anything happens. Plus, it's better not to be alone right now. It's truly comforting to have someone to rely on during tough times. As my friend said, even though I felt safe for now, the fear was only growing over time. I decided to take her up on her offer. I checked out of the hotel and headed to my friend's house. Although it was a hassle due to work-related reasons, my first priority was to sever ties with my ex-husband, so I changed my phone number that day. After that, there was no contact for a while, and I didn't see my ex-husband. I thought I was safe. Until the day I was about to go out with my friend, and there he was, standing at the front door. Did you file the divorce papers on your own? What? Why are you here? What are you doing? That should be my line. How can you file for divorce without any discussion? You must be out of your mind. More importantly, how did you find this place? It's creepy that you're stalking around my house. My mind was overwhelmed with fear, and all I could do was try to stop my hands from shaking. I was able to stay somewhat sane because my friend was there. But the thought of being alone with him was terrifying. I didn't know how he had found this place, but I had never felt such fear in my life. That's none of your business. This is a matter between spouses. You keep out of this. Since you're stalking around my house, it does involve me. It's a nuisance, so don't come any closer. If you keep this up, I'll file a police report for stalking. This is just a marital dispute, and no third party should intervene. Hey, Alyssa. I need to talk to you. Stop hiding behind her and say something, will you? I'm scared of you. Why are you here? And you were the one who prepared the divorce papers because you wanted to divorce, right? I found the marriage registration form with your mistress too. So why are you angry at me? I just did what you wanted by filing for divorce. I don't understand why you would resent me for that. I desperately poured out my feelings. It was possible that he might lash out physically at any moment. Unfortunately, my friend's husband had gone to work and wasn't there. I was determined that if my ex-husband tried anything, I would scream loudly. That was the one thing I had decided in my heart. What do you want with Alyssa, anyway? You can't just betray someone and get away with it. Besides, I never intended to get divorced. Then why were there divorce papers and a marriage registration form? You were planning to divorce me after cheating in secret, weren't you? She kept nagging me to divorce you, so I prepared them just to appease her. I never really intended to go through with it. Just showing her the papers made her happy. He spoke as if he had done nothing wrong. He seemed to portray himself as another victim. However, that excuse was inexcusable. The fact that he cheated made him completely at fault. The fact that you cheated doesn't change, does it? How do you explain that? Even if you didn't intend to remarry your mistress, why did you cheat in secret? That was just a way to blow off steam. I wasn't seriously in love with her, she was just a fling. A fling? Do you really think that excuse is acceptable? You're mocking Alyssa, aren't you? Don't joke around. Despite his aggressive reaction, I wasn't at fault. No matter his excuses, my ex-husband was to blame for cheating. Furthermore, I didn't write the divorce papers myself. I filed them because he prepared them after cheating on me. I shouldn't be blamed. My friend was angry on my behalf, which allowed me to speak with some confidence. We need to talk this through properly. Why are you deciding everything on your own? No matter what you say, the fact that I filed for divorce won't change. If you come any closer, I'll report you to the police for stalking you. By the way, my husband is a lawyer. If you want to sue, he's ready to take you on. We said just that and closed the front door. My friend suggested going out for a cake buffet to change the mood. But I was not in the mood to go out. After we entered the house, my ex-husband continued to loiter in front of the entrance for a while. What should we do? Should we call the police soon? I think it'll be fine. I just contacted my husband, and he said he'd come right over. My friend had called her lawyer husband, and I felt a bit relieved. 30 minutes later, her husband arrived. My ex-husband had continued to linger at the front door, turning it into a very tense situation. What are you doing here? This is someone's home entrance. Huh? Who are you? I'm the homeowner here. My wife just told me there's a stalker outside our house. The police have been called, so please don't run away. At that moment, my ex-husband ran away. Startled by the police mention, he fled at full speed. It was truly pathetic, and I sighed, thinking about how I had been married to such a person. Thank you so much. Are you all right? He didn't physically harm you, did he? It almost came to that. But, is it true that you called the police? No, I just said that because I thought he would run away. If he thought the police were coming. Plus, I don't think he'll come near you anymore. From my experience, people like him usually flee when they hear a police or a lawyer. His clear words reassured me. As my friend's husband predicted, my ex-husband no longer approached us. And my anxiety gradually eased. Is everything going well? The marriage registration form and the photos posted on SNS will serve as evidence. Even if it goes to court, we're likely to win. Plus, since both are employed, they'll probably settle before it goes to trial. Thank you really. I'm so grateful. It's okay. This is my job, so please don't worry about it. Moreover, what your ex-husband did was a betrayal, and that cannot be forgiven. That's really reassuring. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. My friend's husband is a lawyer who is experienced in divorce cases. And he also helped me with the lawsuit for compensation against my ex-husband's infidelity. The other party was reluctant until the end, so it took some time to resolve the issue. But eventually, they paid the full amount of the compensation I requested. And I was able to completely sever ties with my ex-husband. After that, I decided to move to the countryside, where I now enjoy a leisurely life. I could have moved within Tokyo. But I wanted to reduce the chances of encountering my ex-husband as much as possible. I couldn't believe he went as far as to find out where my friend's house was. There's a chance he might try to find out where I moved and stalk me again. So I wanted to move as far away as possible. Moreover, as a self-employed designer who primarily works remotely, it doesn't matter where I live. I'm going to New York City next Monday, but would you like to have lunch? That sounds great. My husband is free too. So the three of us should go somewhere. He's been worried about you being alone. Then, may I come over to your house? I was thinking of bringing some wine as a gift. Even after starting to live alone, I have enough work to keep me busy without any financial troubles. And I'm enjoying my life every day. My relationship with my friend continues, and I'm not having any issues with social interactions. On the contrary, it seems that a lot of troubles have occurred around my ex-husband since then. After our divorce and paying the compensation, I heard that his affair was discovered by his company and he was demoted. Apparently, the woman he had an affair with worked in a different department at the same company, and their relationship came to light. Both were demoted and ended up breaking up after suffering financially from paying compensation. They lost money, connections, and their jobs. And although they could have stuck together, maybe it's better that they suffer alone. That's the price of betraying others. And the two of them will have to spend their lives making up for it. I plan to forget about these two and enjoy being single for a while. Fortunately, I'm not struggling with my job, and I'm not in a rush to have children. Rather than rushing into marriage and possibly encountering someone like my ex-husband again, I think it's better to live my life meaningfully. Life is only once, and I have no intention of wasting any more time on someone who betrays others as easily as my ex-husband did. From now on, I hope to only associate with people who truly care about me from the bottom of their hearts.